Thank you again for participating in this workshop. This is the age-friendly guide to sharing your voice online. Okay, we'll be covering a few topics here, and keep in mind that this will be covering a few tools and resources, etc. Of course, sharing your voice online, it means so much. I mean, this is just, it's not even scratching the surface, but nonetheless, we hope that with these few resources and the brief overview, you know, it'll get you started, you know, and learning something new, and get you open to sharing your voice online. So let's get right into it. Okay, so overview, AgeFriendly NYC, sharing your voice online in the digital age, Twitter, tweets, Yelp, using Yelp, NYC 311, and using the 311 website. Now, again, and I'll reiterate this later on, the information that we'll be going over as far as using the 311 website or using Yelp, of course, it'll be a quick overview. We definitely encourage you all to spend more time on the platform as we'll be covering these topics. And so I will be moving forward now to the third slide. Also, too, at some point, you will be receiving a handout that should be in the chat at some point. And so when you do see something in the chat, feel free to try to download it and see if you're able to acquire that handout. What that handout is an overview of the topics that we'll be covering. Okay, so what is AgeFriendly NYC? Established in 2007, a partnership between NYC Council and NY Academy of Medicine. The goal is to enable older people to access, enjoy, and contribute to city life. Working with Senior Planet and LiveOnWhy to teach older adults to use digital tools to advocate for change. Okay, so definitely lots of good things happening there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to visit one of the websites that revolves around this program, and also show you briefly. Let me know if you're able to see this. This is a YouTube video here. I would recommend looking into this on your own time. We're not going to go through the whole video, but this provides information on that topic.
I don't have any sound.
Ah, okay. Okay, let me get that for you.
We also have another newcomer. Welcome, the AgeFriendly NYC Guide to Sharing Your Voice Online. Welcome.
Okay, let me know if you hear anything now.
Now we continue our occasional look at aging and the challenges of long-term care. Tonight, Hari Srinivasan reports on a push to make New York City more livable in later years.
It's 9:30 in the morning in East Harlem, New York City, and the Thomas Jefferson Pool is springing to life.
Ooh, take the plunge. Come on.
Several dozen seniors have come to take the plunge and take part in the pool's senior swim hours.
Okay, so again, we won't be going through the whole video, but I do encourage you to look into this on your own. It says over here, age-friendly in the news, and it's a great video on the topic. It talks about you know, the research, how this affects seniors, et cetera, and how it's being implemented, and age-friendly, New York City being one of the most age-friendly places in the US. But yeah, it's profile provided by PBS. Okay, so I'm going to switch over and share a screen for another. Okay, so you see here, this website is under construction. Now, why did I leave that on? The reason being is that if you stumble upon a resource that says, hey, this is for XYZ thing, continue reading, you might still have the opportunity to access the resource. So over here, you'll notice it says, thank you for visiting AgeFriendly NYC. The website's currently being updated. For updates on other NYAM healthy aging work in progress, please click here. Okay, so when you see a website like this again, continue reading, you might get the resource that you're looking for. So we're gonna click on that. And then there you go. Okay, so I will only read a few of these points. I won't go over the whole page, but this is really a great resource if you are interested in looking more into this. It says over here, cities and communities that are designed to maximize accessibility and inclusion are key to meeting the needs of a growing older population. At the same time, they provide opportunities for people of all ages to stay active, healthy, and engaged. Okay. NYAM's City for Healthy Aging works at both the city and state level by asking older New Yorkers about their daily lives and developing strategies to reduce or eliminate barriers to optimize social, physical, and economic participation. Okay, and then there's more information on this, resources for COVID, and more details on AgeFriendly NYC. Okay, also here, you have LiveOnWhy, which is another great resource as well. It says, our work improves the lives of millions of older New Yorkers. Okay. Great, so it says over here at LiveOnWhy, we believe that all people have a future. Our work is centered on making sure that New York is a great place to age. We do this through target advocacy, data-driven policy, direct assistance, and innovative programs. Okay, so again, just giving you a brief overview and show you here, there's plenty of great resources for the community to learn more about, making the community age-friendly and, create a better environment for all of us, essentially. Okay. So I'm also going to show you here briefly, World Health Organization, there's a page here on their website where it talks about age-friendly cities and communities, stating that since 2008, the majority of the world's population lives in cities. Urban populations will continue to grow by 2030. It is estimated that around 3 out of 5 people will live in urban areas. Okay, so that's a very, very big deal, how populated cities are going to become. Essentially, yeah, we're living healthier, living longer, etc. So this is a very, very important topic. At the same time, as cities around the world are growing, their residents are growing older. The portion of the global population age 60 will double from 11% in 2006 to 22% in 2050. Okay, so again, I'm just going to scroll down here just so you get a general idea of what the page looks like and you're more familiar with that as well. And there is a website here that hopefully this is working as well. Okay, I really like this page. It really shows you kind of like the impact, the global importance of age-friendly. So over here it says AgeFriendly World. Okay, it says over here, Ireland, the first age-friendly country. In 2016, Ireland became the first country in the world where all administrations are members of the World Health Organization's Global Network for Age-Friendly Cities and Communities. An event to recognize this achievement was hosted in Slane Castle Meath County Council, not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and attended by all levels of government. Okay, so I will save my poor pronunciation of these names for some other time, but essentially the idea and why I like to go over this is to show you how important this is, so impactful. And it's great that Ireland is just the first, just age-friendly country, just to have all these resources, et cetera, provided. It's a wonderful thing, and it should be a standard. So lots of information on this. Again, this is in addition to being a New York City thing, so to speak, this is a global thing. And so, yeah, very, very important. And yeah, I'm glad to be part of it as well. Okay. Now let me switch over to the presentation. Okay, so here we go. Okay, discussion, sharing your voice. Are there issues in your neighborhood that you'd like to address? What are they? Have you ever experienced age discrimination in a local business? What are you passionate about? Is there someone whom you'd like to advocate for? Okay, how do you usually speak about issues in your community? Okay, I'm going to leave this up here for a few moments. I think it's really important questions, and any thoughts, comments, responses that come to mind, feel free to share those in the chat.
Yes, don't be shy. So I'm right here in the chat, and I just happened to share the survey link. But let's review that question one more time. What was it again?
Yeah, sure. I'll go over these. Yep. So, are there issues in your neighborhood that you'd like to address? What are they? Have you ever experienced age discrimination in a local business? What are you passionate about? Is there someone whom you'd like to advocate for? And then over here it says, how do you usually speak about issues in your community? Okay.
So at the moment on my screen, I just see the website that you had up with the AgeFriendly World. I don't see the actual presentation. Okay. But Anna Lee or Miss Wells, yes, that's much better. That way that gives them time to marinate on a question.
Thank you for pointing that out.
I mean, the other day I could give you an example of something that was going on in my neighborhood just to get us to get the ball rolling. Is that there was loose garbage around my neighborhood, and that's an issue, especially now with the pandemic. They're talking about sanitation, etc. And I do have I can't show it to you at the moment, but there is a staircase on the side building. It's like, I call them the Rocky Balboa staircase, because it's like about 78 like they more than that, but it's like 278, something like that, of steps. And they actually, when you get a certain point, there's a marker that tells you where you've reached. Okay. Anyway, so there's been somebody that I've witnessed that actually throws their garbage from the window. And I'm like, you're loitering, you're making things worse. And there was a period in the front building where the sidewalk was. So anyway, make a long story short, I was calling 311. I know there were other neighbors calling 311. And then there was one time, which I've never seen. I'm like, what's going on? And there was a guy inside a homeless man that decided to create a house for himself in a box right in the center of the sidewalk. So I was just like, wait, what is going on? So I called News Channel 12. And I sent a person, her name is Christina. I explained I had photographs, because you want to have, evidence too, to back up what you're saying or what you're reporting. And I wanted to be anonymous. So 311, you can be anonymous as well. As well as, if you report things to, because I live in the Bronx, News Channel 12, you don't have to, identify yourself. And then finally, my roommate was getting annoyed as well. And there were people in the neighborhood talking about it, because I was like, I don't know what was happening. It was just a whole wave. So long story short, so my roommate calls the councilman, which is our Richie Torres. She made a comment on his, because he made a comment on his Facebook and about wanting to help the Bronx and et cetera. And she's like, well, if you're really going to be helping the Bronx, you need to come on the Grand Concourse.
Okay.
So with that said, that problem was resolved very quickly. And they have a special team called Wildcats. And they came and I was watching them and they were just like, there was a few teams of them and they were, now everything's back to normal. And I'm happy to say we advocated for ourselves and we got justice.
Look at that. That's a great story. Thank you for sharing that. Okay,
that happened a couple weeks ago.
Look at
so
that.
Does anybody else want to share?
Okay, well, at the very least, for those who may not want to share for the time being, that's a great blueprint, actually, for how to advocate for yourself. Something's going on, reach out to certain parties and leverage social media, see how to get things done. That's great. That's a really great story. Thank you for sharing that, Nadine.
You're welcome. I gave you 3 to 4 different avenues that you could go to.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I am going to move on to the next slide. So it says here, sharing your voice in the digital age. It says over here, older adults are well poised to address issues in their community. Digital tools can help you create change. It says over here, share opinions and experiences, organize around an issue, communicate with city agencies, local businesses, and more. Okay, so this is here over here, a great photo of the senior planet community here, right? Advocating and building community, showing unity, and lots of beautiful things here, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about Twitter in a bit, but yeah, Twitter, and there's of course other platforms as well, although we're briefly going to be talking about Twitter. Keep in mind, lots of social media content. I mean, even people are using YouTube, etc., to advocate for change, and so something to keep in mind as well. Although Twitter seems to be one of those things that just it just moves like lightning, right? But yeah, just want to keep in mind that there are other platforms out there that you can leverage as well. And now we're going to move on to Twitter. Okay. All right, debut in 2006. Website is, it's a website and mobile app, real-time updates and communication used by grassroots movements, social media activism, keep up with elected officials and newsworthy people, contact customer service for a quicker response. Okay, that actually reminds me of the story that Nadine shared, right? So leveraging social media, right, to connect with someone who you needed, quote unquote, customer service for your neighborhood, right? So it still applies, right? And so yeah, that's one of the things about Twitter, is that it's quick, and you often get very quick responses, and the idea is that it's public. And so if you're reaching out to a company and you're like, hey, I'm having a problem with this and this and that, everyone can see that, right? So that's something that makes social media, kind of exposes how people are communicating with others. So it can be very powerful. So some examples of that, of grassroots or social justice movements that started on or spread largely thanks to Twitter. Here we have the Arab Spring in 2009, Occupy Wall Street 2011, Black Lives Matter, hashtag expose ageism. Okay, Twitter allows people to organize and connect in real time, even when they are far apart, right? You notice how lately, when it comes to community activism, you're starting to see more people uniting on a global scale, even for things that are happening in like a particular community, right? A lot of people show solidarity from all parts of the world at the same time. And yeah, definitely attribute that in part to social platforms like Twitter. So social media activism is when groups and movements use social media platforms to advance social and political issues. Hashtags are a big part of this, and we'll go over that in the next slide. Twitter is also the go-to place for customer service and complaints. You can call out companies or officials for their policies by using the @ symbol. Okay. Companies are more responsive because tweets are public. If you want your voice heard and increase your chances of a fast resolution for an issue, Twitter is a good place to start. Okay, so let's talk about Twitter in more depth and tweets, right? So you think about Twitter, the little bird, tweet, tweet, tweet. Essentially, it's quick and short, right? So here, limited to 280 characters. It's great for those who I would say also are skilled at short form communication. Twitter definitely is a platform that challenges you to make things concise. It's natively public, meaning that when you go on, it's set up so that people can see it. Of course, there are settings where you can make things a bit more private, etc. But in general, it's set up so it can be used for public view. Follow others to see their tweets in your Twitter feed, right? So you might have a celebrity, elected official, etc., or friends in the community, or whoever, a news channel, etc. You can see that in your feed. So here, hashtags. Hashtag essentially is the number sign, the pound symbol, as we used to call it. You add that next to some letters or some numbers or combination, and there you go. That's pretty much a hashtag, and I'll show you a little bit more of that in a bit. So here it says, create a conversation around a common topic. So here it says, expose ageism. Well, hashtag expose ageism, and something to keep in mind, there is a space in this slide where it says expose space ageism. It's actually supposed to be together, like the following, where it says hashtag age friendly, hashtag Black Lives Matter. Also, too, as you'll notice here, the @ symbol, those are used to address a particular user. Okay, so it notifies the user that you're talking about them or mentioning them, if you will. That's called a mention, or sometimes it's called a Twitter handle. The @ symbol is that, and the number symbol is for the hashtags. I'm going to zoom into this a bit to make it a little bit easier to see. Here is an example. Okay, so over here it says seniors apply now for this new hashtag affordable housing. Okay, located in, and then it says @ Salamanca, and then it's contacting, essentially notifying a specific individual in the community. And it says @ Senator Rivera, @ Mr. Mike Blake, and then it says just districts in hashtag the Bronx. And then it says, congratulations to our member @ Sage USA for the exciting milestone. Okay, so here you have a combination, right? So you see the @ symbol at the very top where it says LiveOnNY. That's their Twitter handle. You know, if you want to communicate with somebody or notify them essentially or mention them, right? You see the @ symbol. You would have to use their actual profile. You know, using random numbers and letters with the @ symbol is probably not the way to go. The way to use it is to use the @ symbol and connect with somebody and know their profile. In this case, if you wanted to put a hashtag, if you wanted to put a post and you wanted to mention LiveOnNY, you would type it out in the same way it is here in this screen where it says @LiveOnNY, and that would mention them and notify the account that someone's mentioning them. So. And the hashtags, those you can change. So also something to keep in mind, the hashtags do not have to be capitalized. You can capitalize them for easy reading if you're interested in other people reading your hashtag more easily. But the most important part is that they're all together. In the meantime, feel free to share any examples of hashtags that maybe you use or anything that you think you can use to create change, or maybe that you're using now, maybe with an organization that you're working with, or maybe for yourself, your own work, etc. Or, you know, maybe some personal stuff. Maybe you just love cooking and you're like hashtag organic, you know, chicken stew. I don't know. I'm just making something up, right? But yeah, just feel free to share that in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Remember, you can also raise your hand. I beg your pardon, Roberto. Also, you can raise your hand as well if you want to flag us or a thumbs up, because this is a small group. And this is kind of like a little bit of review, because we've, and I've noticed some of you have attended the previous lectures that we've had, and we actually had one on social media. So this is like a piggyback on, or additive, and a bit of review for what we talked about with social media, Instagram, Twitter, when you're on Twitter, how people follow you. But remember, in Twitter, it's like within seconds that the messages can change. So it's like if I'm going, the other day I was doing a challenge, a dance challenge. So I could, my Facebook, for example, or Twitter, whoever's following, I can say hashtag 2020 dance challenge to whoever I want to invite. So if I'm inviting Roberto, I can tag him and tell him to hashtag dance challenge 2020. You know what I mean? Because it has a meaning to it.
There you go. Okay, anything in the chat before we move on?
Not the moment.
Okay. All right, so here, discussion, sharing, reviews. Let me make this a little bit smaller. There we go. Okay. How do you let a business know what you're doing right or wrong, right? So essentially, there's a business you're participating in, whether it be a restaurant, etc., or a dental office. How do you communicate that they're doing a good job or otherwise? The following point, do you ever consult online reviews before selecting a restaurant, business, or service provider? Why or why not? The third point, it says, what kind of information would you give in a review of a restaurant or small business to let older adults know that the place is age-friendly? Okay, so I'm going to leave that there for a bit. Any thoughts, any feedback, feel free to share that in the chat.
So another one is that will be touched upon would be like Yelp. Like, for example, could you let me know in the chat, are you familiar with Yelp, or have you ever heard of Yelp? That's a way of letting a business know how it's doing, right or wrong. Like, you could have a favorite restaurant, or something or you love the wine or the dessert in that particular area or that particular restaurant. I'll just use a place that I know off the top of my head that exists on 72nd in Amsterdam, or no, 72nd and Broadway, somewhere around those. And I think it's called Taco Me. And, maybe the service is quick during this time. And, at the time of COVID, and they're outside and they get you things in and out pretty quick. You can write a review about them. It could be positive or negative. Do you ever consult online reviews before selecting a restaurant? So that'll be a place to go. Or you can go to their actual website. Sometimes they show stars. Like, do you want to give somebody a 5-star or a 3.5 stars? Things like that. There's also, and they do sometimes even with apps. They Chase sometimes once in the blue moon. The app for Chase might say, "How do you feel the app is working for you?" Like little things like that. You could be using an ADP account. That sometimes a survey comes up. There's random surveys that come up, or even live conversations when you're dealing with healthcare, for example. Sometimes if you call Health First or one of the medical, sometimes if you speak to customer service on the phone, they'll ask you if you want to stay and give some feedback on a survey, automated survey. Optimum does the same thing. Ourselves included right now, I just put a survey inside so we can understand how we're doing and how we can make things better. What kind of information would you give in a review of a restaurant or a small business? to let older adults know that the place is age friendly. Let's say, like, maybe wheelchair access might be something very significant, to a person that you want to take out, you know what I mean? Because maybe that particular person at that time can't take stairs. So is it wheelchair accessible? Are they on time with their services, etc. Those are different examples if Roberto wants to piggyback on that. If not, I don't see anything in the chat and we can just keep going.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. And also too, I mean, some of the more conventional ways to do it, right? Just go to the business owner, the manager, and say, hey, this food, yada, 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 right? It came out too cold, or this is not what I asked for, right? Sometimes it's just kind of like the small things, and people might respond to that very quickly. Sorry about that. And, I had an opposite situation where I was treating my cousin to some food, and they essentially, instead of giving her a new dish, her plate, it was not what she asked for. They just kind of took out the water. They gave her a soup dish, and she ordered some type of noodle dish, and they just kind of cleaned out the water and brought back the same dish. And I was like, wow. And I like to go to small local places, and I like to tip well. And then after them doing that, I was like, you know what? We're okay. We don't have to come back here. I didn't appreciate that. So sometimes just simply not going back and saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to give my money to another local business is a way to do it as well. And we can also use online options, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about Yelp. Okay, so Yelp, founded in 2004, website and mobile app. It's 192 million reviews. It says users rate and review restaurants, stores, schools, doctors, etc. Businesses can respond to reviews. Frequent users use it as a social networking tool. Okay. So it says over here, in the age of the internet, when it's commonplace for people to share their thoughts and feelings on social media, it makes sense that customers are consulting online reviews before frequenting business. Okay, 66% of consumers say they somewhat or completely trust the content on online communities for product service reviews. Yelp grew quickly, but 2006 had 1 million monthly visitors. 2019 reports to have over 60 million and more than 76 monthly viewers of the app. Social networking aspects, reviewers are encouraged to use their real names and photos. Users can like other reviews or mark them as helpful. Each day, frequent users vote on a review of the day. So essentially, it's a great platform. I know when I'm with friends and we're like, hey, I'm in the mood for some Indian food. Like, okay, or I'm in the mood for XYZ type of food. They just go on Yelp and they'll see what has the highest rating, and I mean, it's really great for that. I've also used it to find a driving school. So I picked my driving school, and just looking at the reviews and what people were saying about the school, I was like, okay, great. So it's a great option as well. So I'm going to move on here. Okay.
I love Indian food, by the way. That's one of my favorites.
Awesome. Yeah. Definitely big on Indian food, Thai food as well. It's delicious. Mexican food. Okay, I'm getting hungry now. I got to leave you guys. No, it's fine. So we have here using Yelp. Create an account to write reviews. No account needed to read reviews. See contact info, hours, menus, photos. It says only Google is consulted more for online reviews. Okay. So here in this screenshot, I'm just going to zoom into this a bit. I want to go over some aspects of what you might see on Yelp. Okay, so here they're reviewing Corkscrew Wines in Brooklyn, and it's a wine shop, and we have somebody here named Molly. Okay, so here, well, you see the first thing that I notice is the 5 stars. That's pretty cool, right? So when you have it's one thing when you see one person saying it has 5 stars. That could be the manager, it could be the owner, but when you see lots of reviews and it's still really high, I consider that to be a good sign. Okay, that's a little bit harder to fake. Okay, so here Molly mentions how much she adores the platform. I'm sorry, she absolutely adores the wine shop. She recently moved to Clinton Hill and was so sad that she has to leave her old wine shop behind. However, this place is better than the last place I went to because they have a great focus on natural wines here, which I love. Okay, so I'm going to pause right there. One thing that's really great about some reviews like this is that people give you details. They might give you these little nuances that you maybe the website didn't even mention. Right. So when you have people share an experience, they were like, oh, you know what, that customer service representative, they might mention somebody by name. This person was wonderful. He knew sign language and he helped my friend purchase some wine. Like these are like unique things that you may not see on the website, but you might notice that in the review. So I recommend, in addition to looking at the stars, to read through the reviews, when you participate or engage with the business. Here, the staff is so friendly and knowledgeable. I enjoy going here so much. The owner, Karina, is so kind and helpful. She really created a wonderful atmosphere. Okay, so here you'll notice some buttons. Is it useful? Right, there's a little light bulb here. You can click on that. Right? Is it funny? Right? Maybe somebody made, cracked a little joke and they liked it. Oh, that's good. And so here, that was a pretty cool review, right? Here's the little icon with the sunglasses, right? So this also helps, the platforms, the algorithms, etc. It helps them without having somebody actually look over the information, but through math, science, and technology. This helps the platforms notice what's good and what's not good, right? So you get to see a bit about Molly's profile. She has 31 reviews, meaning she's reviewed 31 times. She has 1 photo here and 5 friends, and it's from Williamsburg. Okay, so that is an example of a Yelp review. Here you can write a review, and you notice in this button here, you can add a photo, you can share or save that as well. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'll take a moment just to briefly go to Yelp.
Mm-hmm. You can also do it for hair salons, like if there's one in Queens that's near you or Brooklyn that's near you, not too sure about it, or you want to find out how they've been doing in the pandemic, things like that. So a lot of people are actually using these apps more frequently now, not just to know if the food tastes good, but are they open? Are they following good regulations? Because these types of Zagat survey is something that you use for the restaurants. Everybody's looking for something with the A, B. Well, I personally look for the letter A. If you're less than the letter A, I'm suspicious.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, like, why do you have a B?
Right, what's going on? Yeah, for sure. And so here, and thank you for sharing that, Nadine. You have here Yelp.com. Essentially, you'll notice when I click on the search menu, this is a drop-down menu comes up, and you can see auto repair, plumbers, accountants, takeout, delivery, restaurants, right? So it's not just for food, it's used for other purposes as well. Here you can put the location in as far as what is it that you're looking for. Okay. And if you would like to log in, of course, you would click here. And here you would click on sign up if you want to create an account. Now, we're not going to actually sign up here, but I do want to show you what the page looks like in case this is new to you. Sometimes you see platforms that they ask you to continue with Facebook, Google, or Apple, etc. And it's personally not something that I would do. Some people choose to do that, and that's fine. That is still your choice. Nonetheless, to keep the information a little bit separate, that's the reason why I don't like to do it. I prefer to just put in my information here, and I might even create a separate email just for that one platform or just for social media. And that way I don't commingle what how I communicate with my doctors, etc., or for business purposes. I don't use that email to use on social media or platforms like Yelp. So here, again, you can put your name, you can have your email and your password, and your password wouldn't be the same password you use in your email. What they mean is they want you to make up a password for this. That's the best thing. I wouldn't recommend something like password 123. I know it's easy to remember, but please, I would highly, highly recommend not to do that. But make up a different password for each social media platform or for each platform that you use. That's the best bet. And then it gives you minimum characters, which means here they ask you for 6. Some platforms ask for 8, some ask for 12, but it goes on and on. And so this in here, they ask for 6. You put in your zip code, your birthday, it's essentially a survey. They want to gauge what your interests are, what your age range is. And so talking about algorithms and things of that nature, they're probably going to show you some things that you may be interested in, right? So it's like my interest as an 18-year-old, it's very different than what it is now, right? Like, yeah, I'm sure I could have a fun time playing a few video games, because I'm not really into video games anymore, right? So if I was on this platform and I was 18, they might show me things about, video game gatherings and conferences or comic book things, right? Or maybe some sporting events and things like that. So anyway, this is pretty much how you sign up for Yelp. And we're going to move on. Oh, let me zoom out a bit. It's a little too late.
We're doing good on time. We have about 15 minutes left.
Okay, great. Yes, and we need some time for that survey. So here we go. NYC 311, website and app. So this is the website for NYC 311. Somebody asked before if they have to type in portal.311.nyc.gov. My suggestion was yes. Right? If you go on Google and type in 311 or something like that, you might get a rock band, you might get something else, you might get a phone number, you might get a zip code, you might get a lot of different things, right? So, so this is the web address, portal.311.nyc.gov. Quick, easy access to all NYC government services and information, still available in 50 languages, right? That's remarkable. Report problems, get updates, learn about services. Follow NYC 311 on social media. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward there. Okay, so here's a screenshot of NYC 311. So here in NYC 311, you can report a problem. You can learn more about what's going on with COVID, etc. You don't have to create an account to use these services. Nonetheless, if you file a complaint and you want to track the complaint, then you would have to create an account. So I would definitely recommend that if there's something going on in your neighborhood or something that you're complaining about, you want to track it, creating an account on the platform would be the way to go. Okay. And of course, you can follow them on social media, etc. So what I want to do is I want to take a moment to actually go to the platform and explore that together.
And while he's doing that, I wanted to also share, because some people may be aware or not, that there's also an app for the NYC 311 that you can just download onto your smartphone or Android, iPhone, or tablet, or iPad, if you want to just have quick access to it.
Give me a moment, I'll be right with you.
Anna Lee, did you have something you wanted to share with us? I noticed that you muted yourself.
I have a question, actually. I noticed where it says portal 311nyc.gov, that in front of it, you have HTTPS, S meaning, you know, it's more of a secure website. So
Correct.
So, you know, setting up an account is less anxious provoking if I see the S, but that's not always the case in something like a Twitter or a Yelp. That's more public. Am I correct in understanding that?
I'm not sure I understood. No, I'm listening. I'm listening to the question. So is what more public? Is the S more public or less public? Is that what I understood?
No, well, S means it's more secure.
Secure,
So that
yes.
means there's less chance of someone getting my email and my home address if I set up an account. But that's not the case with, let's say, a Yelp or a Twitter, where it's more public and open. You don't get that security. Am I correct in understanding that?
So I do not think that is correct. As long as, like, for example, I am on Twitter right now. I'm going to twitter.com. You see it says HTTPS. It's still a secure connection. That's essentially what that is. And of course, that helps you. It helps in encrypting information or scrambling the signal. It's safer, essentially. It's a safer connection. And so, yes, you can safely go on Twitter in the same way you can safely go to the 311 portal. Okay, now does that mean it's guaranteed that, you know, a hacker won't get through or something like that? You know, that we can't say. I mean, you know, that's why you have governments and you have all these companies who have security, and they have, you know, data security specialists to protect information, and that's a deep rabbit hole that I do not understand. But long story short, when you see the HTTPS, it's a safer connection.
Okay, so that's Twitter, but on Yelp, you don't see that security symbol in front of Yelp, do you?
Let me see, Yelp.com.
While he's doing that, let me just piggyback on that. And I'm actually researching this just to give you more of a clearer answer. The difference between HTTP versus HTTPS is simply the presence of an SSL certification, which is like encrypts. Like I don't want to go off tangent a little bit, but like, for example, if you have WhatsApp, it will say Enscript, like somewhere around it, like nobody can read your text messages or messages to somebody but you and that other person. So that's what it means in between. So there is a little bit more security, which is HTTPS, because it's encrypted. So your information is more secured. But that's the only difference as I'm reading it at the moment. And it does state HTTPS is more secured due to the fact that they have an SSL certificate and it's more encrypted. So in other words, it's harder for a hacker to get involved, but that doesn't mean either one that you can't get hacked, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yes. For example, and thank you for that, Nadine. For example, I am on Yelp.com right now, and you see it says HTTPS, and there's a lock there as well. So essentially, but if I was doing this at a cafe or at an airport, that connection may not be secure. So it's the connection itself. Sometimes it is a website that, you know, it doesn't have a secure connection or doesn't allow for that. But if I could go on Yelp, if I'm in a public Wi-Fi, they might tell me it's not secure. Doesn't mean that Yelp is not secure. It just means the connection, how I'm getting to Yelp. So it's more of a connection thing. It's not, it might be a website thing, but it's mostly the connection itself. So if you're on a public platform, if you're using public Wi-Fi and the Wi-Fi is not a secure connection, it's an open network, you might go to Yelp and it'll just let you know, like, you can still go on, but it's not secure. Same thing with Twitter. So if I have these 3 websites up, they all say HTTPS on them. But if I was doing this at a public Wi-Fi connection, maybe at a cafe or at a park or at an airport, that HTTPS might not be there.
And he's right. And just to clarify some more, is that the S, and I spoke to you about SSL. I just want to tell you what that abbreviation means. It means secure socket layer. So like, again, it goes back to that in being encrypted. You know what I mean? So encrypted, I utilize WhatsApp, for example, because that's truly, it will say Enscript, something to that lingo or language.
Okay,
thank you.
that clears up a lot. So if I'm gonna like ever set up an account, I should do it at home and not at a Starbucks.
Yes.
Right. Right. There
Same
you
thing.
go.
If you're
So
going to do online
understanding.
banking, do it at home. That
Do
is
it at
great.
home.
That's a great
Okay,
example.
but
Yep.
if I already have the account and I'm at a Starbucks, I can just like log in and look.
I would caution. I would not necessarily.
Oh.
If you have to, like if you're traveling abroad and you have to do that, that's different. But that connection might not be secure.
It may not be secure, but if let's say I went on, if I had an account on Yelp and I just want to read a review and not log on to an account, my own personal account, that's okay.
Yeah, that might be fine. Yeah, that type of surfing is probably fine. But again, you know, hackers, nothing's guaranteed on the internet.
Right. Thank you. That's what I want.
Things that HTTPS makes it more secure. Essentially, the difference between locking your door and leaving your door open doesn't mean that somebody can't get into your apartment. It just protects you more.
Exactly. Great example.
Thank you very much. That's quite helpful.
Okay, you're very, very welcome. So I'm going to breeze through this due to the fact that we spend a few minutes on this, but essentially I just want you to see this platform at the very least so you're familiar with what it looks like. But on NYC 311, this is where you can go and report problems, look up service requests. You can even make payments if maybe you have a ticket of some sort. And down here, you have some information regarding voting, COVID as well. So I definitely recommend you to explore more of this website. And I'm going to click actually because this is a very important issue, of course, COVID and schools, for example, COVID and city life, and learn more about that. You can just click on that and read more on that. Okay, so while this is up, Nadine, if you can share the survey and the code that they should enter in the chat.
The survey and the code is already in the chat.
Oh, it is beautiful. Okay, great. So if you can, if you haven't done so already, please take a few moments to complete that survey. It's really important. Keeps the programs going, and it helps us provide this valuable information to others as well. And give me a moment. Okay, I'm actually going to switch screens here. Okay, you'll notice here, let me know if you see that code. Okay, this is what your survey looks like. You're going to put in there 10-549 and select where you took this course, and essentially, you know, pick whichever is relevant to you. And if it's other, then you would click here and then type in whatever the information would be. And then they're going to go through a few questions. Okay, it's a couple of pages or so long. And you can just read over here, for example, in the past 3 months, have you used the internet to do any of the following? Select all that apply. And then you would select all that apply in this case. Oh, yes, and I received email. Yep, I did that for sure. Did I receive text messages? No, but I went on social media. I did do that. Great, I did. Did I read the news? Yes, I did. Okay. I also did this as well. So, and then let's just say the rest is not relevant, right? To your experience, and you can just keep going. Oh, wait, no, but I did online shopping before, so I'll click on that too, right? And you would keep moving forward with the following questions, right? So have you used any of the following social media site apps, etc.? And then, you know, you would select whichever it is that you did select, okay, that you did use, sorry. And then, you know, you would move on and select whichever is relevant to you and to your experience, okay? Now here, it says over here, have you learned about new digital tools from this workshop to amplify your voice online? Okay, so of course we hope that you did, or you learned something new here. So of course, if that is the case, you would click on yes. here on a scale from 1 to 5, how likely are you to share your voice online as a result of this workshop? Very important question. Okay, we do hope that this workshop has encouraged you to share your voice online and, you know, advocate for yourself and or for others, or, you know, simply look at a review and leverage the information that's there. Okay, but this is where you would write the score here. Of course, 5 would be very likely that this did the trick, essentially. Okay, as a result of this workshop, how do you understand how Twitter accomplishes the following? Okay, you would go through these questions here and then select no, I didn't understand, not applicable, maybe you feel we didn't go over it, and here you'll be like, yes, we absolutely I did understand that. Okay, so here are topics that we covered on the one thing we didn't, of course, is using the website and mobile app. We didn't cover that.
So we did speak of it.
Yeah, we did speak of it, though. That is correct.
Yeah, because you can. Just really quickly, I could tell you that you can, if you're on Android, you can just go to Google Play and just type in NYC 311, or if it's on an Apple, just go to the Apple Store and same thing, NYC 311.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Okay, so essentially, this is what the survey is. If you can take a few moments to finish that up, go through those questions. And then after you do so, at the bottom, there's a little arrow. You would click on that. And here I left some things blank. So, you know, if you see that, then you would select, you know, whichever option you think is best and then move forward. And then follow the prompts that way. Okay. So while that's, in the meantime, I'm going to go back. I know we're running about a minute or two over time, so we're going to be ending this very, very soon. But before we do, I do want to say thank you to everybody for participating in this. It was great having you here. Thank you so much for being part of this and helping our work. You know, this is helping the community. You being here is helping us, you know, get the information out there. And briefly, it says as the last slide, it asks, which platform would you use for the following scenarios? Okay, so some food for thought, some homework, if you will. Number one, to spread the word about new cafes that seem very age-friendly. Number two, follow the news and join conversation about affordable housing. 3, contact Con Ed about ongoing electrical problems. 4, get updates from elected officials. 5, learn how to file a complaint about a building. Okay, so some 5 scenarios, and on the top are your options in that. Okay. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for your time and attention. We greatly appreciate it.
We'll see you next week.
Okay. All right. Great. All right. Take good care, everyone. Bye-bye.